Hi, this is Numeric Citizen. In today's video, tags 9 months later and where they fit in my reading workflow. It seems that we've been waiting for the introduction of tags in Craft forever. I think people are expecting tags to be in any modern text editing software, and well, people are asking for tag support in Craft, and we're still waiting for that to happen. And 9 months ago, I wrote an article explaining how I could envision tags to be added into Craft. And while doing so, it's obvious that it's not an easy problem to solve, even though it seems obvious for many people. Tags is not an easy thing to consider for them to be useful, actually useful, and for them to scale well when you have many tags in your system. So I wrote this article and I recently updated it because there is a new version upcoming of Bear 2, which is currently in beta, which has a great tag support, which I can show you here in this beta version of Bear. And as you can see, tags, inline tags are shown like that, and you can click on that, and what you'll see is that you will be will go to the actual tag in the tag section on the sidebar here. And the same thing goes for capacities, which on which I'm keeping an eye on, where there is a specific section on the sidebar here again, where there's a list of tags that you can see. And if you click on any of those, then you will be presented with a window with all the documents or objects that meets the tag that we clicked on. And when you are working on an article, you'll see where you can add tags right after the document title, and this is where you can select other tags. I see there is no search field here, so how it goes when you have hundreds of tags in there. Maybe you have, oh yeah, you have to kind of do the search like this in line. So this is where you'll be using tags in such app, but we're still waiting for the official edition. So 9 months ago, I also created a system for kind of simulating tags in Craft. And this is, I want to show you again, maybe an overview of this system so I can answer those questions if it was a good idea, if it scales well, and if I need tags that much after all. This is what you're seeing here is the actual tags folder in my default space. So this is the folder. I have a pinned document that explains how to use those tags in my environment. And also what you have beneath that is the list, the tiles of each tag document that I'm using. So if I expand this folder, you'll see all the tag document. And there is the first one is the tag master index, where you'll see a table of the tags that are available to me and how I'm using, what are the rules for creating a new tag document in there. So it's pretty nice to work with. If I go in the one of those tag documents, you'll see that a simple description of this tag document itself and all the backlinks, all the documents that are referring to this actual tag document. So this is how it is displayed when you have many documents pointing or linking to this tag document. So as you can see, the list is pretty long and it's not clear how it scales when there is a many hundreds backlinks in there. Sure, you can go in there and then you can expand, you can sort, and so to better present the content of this portion. but I'm still wondering if this is a good way of displaying backlinks when there's so many of them. So if I go in a specific document, this is where I'm using tag. So I have this document in there. It's an article about the Apple Watch Ultra, which comes from an article from the web that I exported and then imported in Craft. And then I read this document, and as I read uh, the document, I kind of highlighted a few paragraph inside of the document. And at the very end of it, there is a section which I call the metadata section, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. And this is where I'm entering the tag in there. So if I want to add a new tag for this document, I could do that here. Type a comma and then the @sign. And this is where it's kind of tricky to select the actual the tag that I want to use. I would like to use the tech tag document for that. So if I enter the tech here, you'll see that in this document there is the documents list in this portion here is not the one that I want to use. So I have to go down here, and I'm not seeing the actual tag that I want to use. So that's a I think it's a big problem actually, because it's not working as expected. So this is where the system is failing me. So you see, it's not perfect, but the tag itself is called here. It's technology, so I have to remember that. But why it doesn't show me as I enter all the four first letters? It's kind of mind. It's bugging me. So I can try again. Technology. So here it is. So now I have a new tag assigned to this article. So this is how I'm using my tagging. And what I found out is that when I'm using tag in my system, it's only for linking related documents together. So if I have more documents talking about this Apple Watch Ultra, like you saw at the bottom of this article, there is a two other article that I'm cross-referencing using my tags also. So this is it's not exactly tags by the way here, but usually when I'm using tag, it's really to put related to article together, and this is mostly why I'm using tag. I never use tags inside a specific document or article. It's really at the bottom of each document. So this is how I'm tagging, and I'm using my tagging system. One of the issue that I have with my tagging system is the fact that I cannot cross-reference my tags from another team or another space. So let's see. Here I'm in the inbox um, space where I have imported a document that I would like to read, because I think it will add some knowledge to what I already have in my craft environment. So if I go at the bottom here and I'm trying to insert technology when I was referring previously, I cannot see that because it doesn't know about my other documents in the other space. So that's a big issue. It will influence how I'm going to process this document. So this is what I'm going to show right now. So to better understand how I'm using tags in my environment, I'll share how I'm actually processing an article for reading. And so I just imported this document about the future of, I think it's related to a latest jobs cut at Google. So what I'm going to do first is bring up a template like this. And from my template, there's only one that I can insert, is the metadata section. And from now on, what I'm going to do, the very first thing I'm going to do is to summarize this article without even reading it. So I'll ask the assistant to do that for me, and then I'll click summarize, and I'll let the assistant do its work. Then I'll copy that here, and I'll go right there and I'll paste that. So now I will read this summary, and then after that I will read the actual content of the article. After that, I'll generate the keywords for this article using the assistant. So I'll select generate keywords. It's not very always, the results are not very always good, but it doesn't cost much to use those. And I'll do the same with the hashtags. And again, the assistant is sometimes producing weird hashtags, but it's not a costly operation. So now this is the metadata section, and the color coding of this, the background of the blocks is blue because I set a rule for myself that any content in my environment that has been generated using the assistant or AI is marked as such. So like in 6 months later, when I go back to this document, I'll remember that this is not something that I wrote, but this is something that came from the assistant. So I think it's important to have this rule. Now here I cannot add tags again because the tags are not in this space. I have to move this document in the other space, and then from there I'll be able to add the tags after that. I can write my take on this right now. I don't have to move this document. I can do that right now. And the same thing for cross-referencing. If I want to link this specific article to any other documents, I have first to move this document into the final this space where the document will be sitting. Now let's move this document to the actual space where it will reside. So right click on this document, and then you see there is no move option right there, and I think it's something that the craft team has to fix because it's very frustrating. There is no reason why we cannot just right click on that and do the move. We have to go to the folder level, right click in the list, and then select move to. I don't understand why it's not everywhere. So I go there. This is where you select the place where you want to move the document. You can move around within the actual space in there, but I'll select to move that into another space. And from there, I'll be able to move that to my default space because this is where the document will sit. So like that, and then I'll switch to my other space. This is where the document sits. It's in the unsorted folder. I can double click on that, and then now I'll be able to add the tags that I want. So this is about Google. I would say it's about the technology. So I have the tag that I can select there. I can write my take, and then I can refer to any existing document. So now here it's a kind of an issue because I have to kind of remember everything that I've got into my craft setup, my craft environment, and it's not easy to do. Sometimes I'll just hit the at sign and hit a few keywords, but it's not very hard. It's not very easy to try to find exactly the article. Sometimes when I'm reading something, I'm doing a search on the web, I download an article, and I can remember which document I want to link it to. So in that case, it's easier to do, but after a while, you kind of forget the content that we've got into my environment. It's not always easy. So this is how I'll be processing this. And then after that, the document is sitting there and it's not in the right place. So I'll go in there's a reading section, a folder in my sidebar where I have all the folder where I want to store these documents. So I can take this document and then drag it to the technology folder, and that's it. Um, And here you'll see all the documents that I wrote, that I read in the past. And if I want to change my mind, I can move that to the miscellaneous folder. And again, I can see all the document that I read in the past. Here you have the books that I want to read. And eventually, if I'll be reading those books, I'll write a few notes around those, and maybe those will generate article on my blog or on my websites. The other thing that is very important in my reading workflow is the processing of some highlights when I'm reading within iKnowReader or within an archived article in microblog. There is a way for me to gather all those highlights using the Readwise service, which is pretty cool, pretty nice. And from time to time, what I'll do is that I'll export those highlights out of Readwise and import them within Craft for archiving and for having this ability to have everything inside the same bucket, which is Craft itself. And for me, it's easy to find things when it's done. So how it's working is pretty simple. When I go to the export function within the Readwise service, there's this markdown export. Each highlight will be exported as a markdown file. So I'll try that right now to see how it works. The nice thing about the export feature is that it remembers the last time I exported content, so only the new one are being exported, and it's pretty cool. So now it has exported that within a folder which is called article. I'll go there, and when I click on that, there's all the files that I'll be able to import in Craft. So I'll switch in Craft right there, and what I'll do is I'll just select this folder, the import markdown file, and then I'll be able to select this list of article that can be imported within Craft. And then after that, I'll be able to just look at those. There's some issue here. It's not a big deal, but the title is repeated in each markdown file. I can delete that as needed. I don't need that also. And so there is the kind of the front matter or the metadata section for this highlight. And in this article, which was read in iKnowReader, I highlighted this thing within this article. So this is now available in any search that I want to do. And I think it's overall, when I'm adding more and more highlights, and it gives me a way to find things easily when I need that. When the Craft app does not fail me, and sometimes I think the search feature of Craft could be improved though, but I think this all those things in the same place, I think it's a good thing to for me, for my needs. Now back to the system, the tagging system that I created. What will happen when Craft actually introduces tags in the application? What will I do with those documents that I cross-referenced with my tagging system? Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, because it really depends on how the tags will be implemented, at which level. Will it be at the document level? Will it be at the block level? How they will work across spaces and teams. So I really don't know what I'm going to do. My gut feeling is that I'm going to keep this system, because I think I like it a lot. And even though I'm not going that often in my backlink section of a document, of a tag document, but when I do that, when I go in the specific tag document like this, and I go in, I want to look for content potential articles, there's this list of all the articles that I think are worthwhile and could be the source of a new article for my blogs. So it's very, very handy to have that at my disposal. So I don't know if I'm going to drop this system when tags are actually introduced in Craft. It really depends on how those will be implemented. So we'll see. And you know what? I don't know when it's coming. I'm not sure even if it will be coming this year. But yeah, I'm pretty anxious to see how it goes in the future. A final few thoughts about this tagging system in general. Um, when a software vendor introduces a feature like tags in a application, we always have to consider how well the tagging or the feature will scale at large. When you add more content to an application, if the feature doesn't break under the weight of the content, then it's probably a good implementation. And I often think about that when there is a new feature coming to Craft or any software for that matter. And one example of that is if I go back in Bear as it is right now, sure, you can organize your tags in a hierarchy and you can have bigger tags and smaller tags and stuff like that. But as you add more and more tags, it becomes harder to use. And it reminds me about Matter, which is a read later service. If you know Matter, you'll see that when you add tags into the system, and you want to use them after that, after reading an article, you are prompted with a long list of tags that you have to scroll and see what's in there, and it's hard to use. So this is where sometimes solution breaks. And again, this is a constant thing that I think of within Craft. And another example of scalability issue is if I look at my Readwise highlights that I'm importing, this folder has 360 items in that. When I expand this, I don't see any value in seeing a list like that. It's good for small folders, but over there, I'm not seeing the value for that, and I think it's a potential issue. If I go there, it's better because we can change the order, the sort order for that, and we can change also the display right there. But it kind of shows some limitation with a specific solution. It's the same thing with the backlink solution implementation. When I go to a tag documents and then I see this long list of articles, it kind of it shows its limit. If I click on that, I can kind of browse through my structure, and it's pretty cool. But again, it's a very hypertext-like way of browsing the content. There is no tags cloud in Craft. So again, this is something that we have to always consider when there's a new feature coming to a software. Does it scale well? So that's it for today's video. I hope you like it. I hope you learn a few things along the way. I really like to share my experience using a software like Craft, and I really like to show my setup so that other people like you can have ideas on how they can improve their own environment or their own workflow. So again, thank you for watching until the very end of this video. If you are not a subscriber to this YouTube channel, I encourage you to subscribe to it so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And again, thank you again, and see you guys for another one soon. Bye. Peace.